Hey guys. All right, so yesterday I was working on trying to get the lookAt um, animated, and I didn't like. I knew wasn't sure exactly like if when I initially sort of laid out the architecture and understanding of how these all these pieces connect together. I didn't know if let me turn this light on. I didn't know if I had made it flexible enough and had enough of understanding to be able to build a good um, animation. So that was one problem. And then the other problem was, hang on one second. I had a really bad assumption of how you access information in the camera. So the way you access the lookup information. So the way you access the position of a camera is identical for meshes and animations. I mean, and lights. But when I went to the camera, the way you access the lookup is completely different. And basically, you can't, is what it comes down to. I did a good bit of research on ChatGPT and about, hey, like, why can't I get the X position of the lookup of the lookAt and right? And it was like, yeah, they don't provide that information. And I think they don't provide that information. This is just me guessing, is because their whole concept of ThreeJS is that the camera points at whatever the camera points at, So if you have it pointed at 000 and then you move the camera, it stays exactly where it was. It doesn't train itself onto whatever it was looking at, which I thought that, but I assumed that it would know where it's looking at least, but it doesn't. It doesn't really know what it's looking at. Um, so that's one big thing, and that was a problem where my understanding of ThreeJS wasn't enough. Then the other big thing is look cameras, unlike meshes and lights, they don't have it has this lookup thing, but meshes look at thing attribute, but meshes and lights don't have that attribute at all. So when I made the TypeScript, it showed that the compiler transpiler caught that, hey, it's possible that you're going to send something in here where it doesn't exist, where I get like a mesh and you're looking for the lookup. Now the code wouldn't allow that the way I had the code, but transpiler um, the transpiler doesn't know that. So basically those required fixes. So before I go into those fixes, on the animation, I think this is a very cool animation. It's very simple animation. Basically, we're looking at a single mesh, and it's a sphere, and then we have a light to the right and a light to the left. So, like if I pause this animation, and I'm over here, I have a blue light on the right and a red light on the left, and we go in, and I'm gonna use the arrows, and we kind of zoom in, and then we eventually get to the point where we're inside the the sphere. And so then there's nothing. And then I don't even know. It would be interesting to check out if I put a little cube inside the sphere, if we can see the cube now. That would be really, really neat to know. And that would be very, very easy to check. But then we go here and there we go. So let me go back. Let's just do it. Do it. Do it. All right, so I'm going to put a little mesh, add the mesh. No, so you cannot see. So there's a square inside of the SQUARE inside of this mesh, and you cannot see it. So like if I were to go back to this other mesh and move its Y position up. Okay, I'm thinking that if I move the Y position, yeah, see now we can see the square, but we can't see inside the cube, which would be cool. I mean, you got to admit that would be really cool. Is when you went in, now you can see the stuff that's inside of there. And I'm sure you can emulate that. Like I could have another camera or I could have another scene somewhere that has the square. So the minute I hit the end, I'm off in some other scene looking at what's supposedly inside of there, the molten magma. But yeah, it doesn't allow that, which, like I said, that's a good question. And that is a question that um, would be very difficult to answer if I didn't have this tool. So it took 2 seconds to get it. So this tool freaking rocks. Yeah. But anyways, so um, all right, so let's talk about code. Okay, so basically, so something that makes me feel real bad and probably should make you feel bad, like bad in like, hey, this isn't ideal, not bad as in like, oh man, what have I done with my life? Not that kind of bad, but like, hey, this probably isn't right. We definitely need to address this in the future. Was that I had to take a bunch of my variables and turn them from strongly typed to any's to get it to compile. That's not good. Um, but it's like, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and then the idea is once you've got everything working again, then kind of revisit and see if you can come up with a really good, clever way to strongly type again. And then that builds up your understanding of your application. So, anyways, in camera interface, apparently I added some stuff. Let's see what I did. What did we do here? I don't see any like legit changes though. Oh yeah, yeah, that's weird. Because I'm looking at it at a different. Okay, so camera interface. Let's go ahead and expand this. So I added this last lookup, and that is to account for the fact that there is no way to look at to ask the actual 3JS what the camera is looking at. But in this implementation, I update where the camera is looking at 60 times a second, right? On every update of the UI, I'm updating it. So while I'm at it, I can save that information of, hey, where did I just set the look at? So I don't need it, but I don't like the fact that I had to do it this way because for the most part, I try to go to the truth to figure out the X position and the Y position and all that. To actually go to the ThreeJS saying, hey, say where's this mesh sitting at? But I can't do that with the camera lookAt. So that's kind of a bummer. So let's go to the other interface and see. Okay, so this makes sense. So before I didn't have the concept of the ThreeJS object property of lookup or the and or lookAt or the animation interface property of lookAt. Or the xlookAt. So, and then we'll add ylookAt, zlookAt when this is all fixed. But so that I think is very reasonable. Makes total sense that I had to add that since I'm now adding that stuff. I think I'm going to go to the service next, and so all I did was it was okay for future use. I'm not using this yet, but basically we're not calculating the actual position, but I just set it up to where I can have a reference to wherever we set the lookup last. And then I added this little comment for myself. When the current lookup is calculated, this needs to be updated. So it will be something like this will be in here, something that tells me what it is. And I'll probably save that as a variable, what the next position is, since I'm going to be using it up here instead of just showing the start value and in there. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically this is just in the future I'm going to need to look at. It was a chicken and egg thing. I needed to add this attribute and update this attribute so that I would be able to show it in the drop down, show the actual in the screen. I guess it would be easier for me to move this guy, move that back. It did not move back the way I was hoping. So in animations, when I say xlookAt, it's always 0 because it's always looking at 0. But it's in the future when this is changing, it will look in the item, not in the actual ThreeJS object, to find out what the current lookup is, which is a bummer. I don't really like that. Now I have a few more things to go over, so I'm gonna hit pause on that. So there, all right. So in the animation items component, so this was fully expected. I just needed to add the new property, and that's what drives. Oh, let's see, can I just do that? That's what drives this drop down. So that was the main goal, was to get that drop down to be to get the new xlookAt, but apparently there were a lot of other goals. All right, so that's nice and smooth the way I did that. So in this animation properties, I added this new xlookAt perspective camera and orthographic camera. So that basically what that does is that prevents the animated meshes or lights from showing up in this dropdown. The only thing, or in this, when we click this, the only thing that's going to show up is either orthographic or perspective cameras, which I think makes a lot of sense. And that was a good change. That was a change I was happy with. I think this is just an old change that I mentioned in the last video. Basically, this went from being a number to an object. So then we needed to show the actual attribute. Same here. There's a couple of them in here that needed to be, oh no, just one that needed to be updated. Same here. And then same here. So that was it. I was hoping that adding the new wrinkle of lookAt would, that my TypeScript, where did I change those to alls? My TypeScript, let's see, where I had to make changes to my TypeScript. Is this, so 9 changes, service, interface, So I had to change something to an, oh, I didn't go over all the changes. Yeah. So yeah, there we go. This was, all I talked about was this change. So let me move this down so we can start moving through. So I had to convert these to any because it correctly caught that it's possible that I would send in an X, like a mesh, and then be looking at a lookAt, and there's no such thing as a lookAt. So before it was just inheriting the fact that this was a mesh, or well, we'll see before that. I added all of these so that, because I was debugging, trying to figure out what was going on in here. And let's keep on going. I had to make this an any. So basically, a pair item is one of these interfaces, and like a mesh interface doesn't have a lookup, so it was catching that it wouldn't do that. And actually, I'll just demonstrate that. Okay, then I added this, and see, when I go to get the current location for the mesh and the lights, I can just get it from the actual object. I can just say, hey, give me my 3 object, look for the property name, look for the subproperty name. That does not work. They do not have that in ThreeJS for the cameras. So that means I have to get it from the item, which is different, and I have to like hard code this. Like if it's lookAt and the subproperties X, then here goes some special code. It would be so nice if I didn't need to do that, but I have to do that, and then I had to make this an any. So let me just do this. So I'm going to remove that, and so we get this weird thing saying, hey, this is, I don't know what this first part means. Maybe it's telling me that I should make it an any. I'm not sure, but it says lookup does not exist on the mesh interface, the light interface, on this whole thing, and that's because it doesn't exist on these two, but it does exist on these two. I kind of wish they were able to sort of tease out, or at least to say, hey, it doesn't exist on mesh interface. And then if I were to fix that, it doesn't work on light interface. But now it's just saying, hey, this whole set of ORed items, it doesn't exist in something in there. So it kind of left it on me to figure out. It took me a long time to realize, oh, okay, it exists for these two, but it doesn't exist for these two. So I have to turn this to an any. And then I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to go back and fix that. I mean, I'll be able to go back and come up with a strong typing that kind of encapsulates all that stuff. But anyways, that is it. Next is definitely trying to actually get the X animated. I think I have everything I need to actually animate it. All the data is there, and so in the animation code I can actually get it animated. And if I update the item last xlookAt position, then inside of here I should get the actual position. So hopefully that's all working. Then I probably need to take a round of trying to get these any's back to being strongly typed. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I've got to try. And then if that is possible, I mean, either way, once I've either given up on trying to get that strong typing working, or I've gotten it strong typing, then I'll try to get Y and Z, and hopefully those go super super simple. And then the system will be like that much more flexible. And if I get that working, then I'll probably switch over to the scene and try to get the background color to where it's animated. I think that is the only thing inside a scene, yeah, is that can be animated would be the red, green, and blue. So getting that animated would be pretty cool. And then and that actually gets a little tricky because there's a limit of what um, and that's not even working at all, it looks like. Or maybe it's because of where we're at. Oh yeah, so that is working. Um, so getting those animated to where over time maybe the background color changes would be next, and that should be another wrinkle that causes a lot of TypeScript changes, but hopefully that's it. Like just adding, hey, be able to look at a scene object. I think I'll probably have to put the scene in an array though, so I can get that code that does the animations and different pieces to be consistently more alike. And then I think I need to go around and just start at a very primitive area and add a new mesh type, and kind of move it all the way through that all these steps. And then if that works nice and clean, then do another light type. And then if that works, then add let's see, is there anything else in camera that like maybe animate um, I guess maybe I think that would be it. I don't think we want to animate the field of view or near or far. Actually, far and near might be fun to animate, so that maybe it can show different sections farther out if as the animation progresses. So I probably would do that. I don't think there's any new attributes in cameras. I think this is it, all encompassing of the cameras. And then I don't think I saw. Oh, I think there's fog in scene, so it'd be good to add fog, and then if there's some sort of animation that I can do associated with that. And if when all that works, then it'll be time to sort of do a full refactor of all the Java, the JS, break things into smaller groups. Like right now, the service is way too big. Yeah, see, it's 791. I consider over 1,000 to be a crisis situation, so we're quickly moving into crisis situation. Um, and then that would be that. Um, and and once all of that is done, then I can go up against the big boss and try to get to where I can export and import a JSON. And once that's done, it would be nice to export and import a CSV. So like there'd be a CSV sort of way of doing it. And what that would do for me is then I would be able to work with like thousands of animations, because the way this system or meshes and lights and stuff like that, because the way this system is set up, it would be very difficult to work with more than maybe 20 or 30. And that is, I think, the long-term plan. But anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.